Evenfall is the time when boundaries of reality collapse and the supernatural awakens. The World Tree opens its glowing gateways to unknown, distant regions. Send witches from your clan to discover and control new places of power. Use them for arcane rituals and battle for the favor of the Power Stones. But there is only one seat on the enchanted throne. Do you have the skills to lead the world into a new era? Today on the Board Boys,
Evenfall.
I will say there's a lot of good stuff on the back of this box, but it says it's Evenfall. The clans of magic are preparing for a new era. Sentence 1. Sentence final. Do you have the skills to lead the world into a new era? So,
Do you?
I don't know. I feel like it's a little redundant the way they. Not redundant. It's a little. They should have found a different way.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Board Boys Podcast, Season 15, Episode 4. Tonight on the docket, Evenfall by DLP and Nanox Games. This is your board boy, Black Magic Rob.
It's your boy, Iron Teeth, TK.
It's your boy, Eddie Vedder Jake.
And it's your boy, Everdell.
Everdell.
JK. It's your boy, Boinker McDoinker, a.k.a. Cam, a.k.a. Doinker McBoinker.
Doinker McBoinker. Sack Disaster.
A.k.a. Sack Disaster, a.k.a. Big B.
Do you remember when Cam made the declaration that he was going to get down to 0 BGA games so he could change his name to Boinker McDoinker?
I don't think I said I could ever actually do that.
Okay.
I said it was impossible.
Well, I started inviting you to games about every 4 hours. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And since you can't say no,
I will never say no.
you
He
ended up
can't
with 100 games.
stop
Yeah.
accepting games on BGA.
Oh, I see what
That's
he
true.
did
That's
there.
true.
It is funny that the Evenfall box has a picture of a tree on it, much like the Everdell tree. I wonder, it'd be interesting if this game was themed more like Everdell. That'd be like most other games now, though, with woodland creatures. Or if Everdell had more of a dark magic type
I think it gives me
vibe.
more Oak vibes than it gives me Everdell vibes.
Yeah, there's been a lot of nature-y tree games as of late.
But there really aren't trees in this game. It's just on the cover.
Yeah.
Oh.
And there's a lot of witch games that come out recently.
There are a lot of witch games.
There are.
All right. There's a movie. It's from the 80s. It's got Nicole Kidman and somebody else, and they're witches. It's the wildest movie I've ever seen. Do you guys have any idea what I'm talking about? Cam.
You're asking me?
Yeah.
I'm the least movie guy here.
Like, my wife loves it.
Are you talking about Hocus Pocus?
No.
That
The
is
Witches
Sarah
of
Jessica Parker.
Eastwick?
No.
Are you-
Ooh, I think I know what this is.
Practical Magic?
Yeah.
Practical Magic. Dude, I went and saw it at, like, Flicks or something for, like, their Halloween series. It's wild. They, like, kill a guy, and everybody's like, oh, that's fine. Just bury him in the backyard. It's a crazy movie from the 80s, and it is so popular. I'm like, I don't know how this movie's popular.
Nicole Kidman is also in The Witches of Eastwick from the
yeah,
80s.
Yeah.
What about
How about do you remember the one with like the goth witches?
Heathers?
There was a movie in the 90s that had witches in it.
I guess they're preppies.
Yeah, with, what's her face? She was super popular.
Jennifer Love Hewitt.
No, she was in, like, I think she was
The
in
Craft
90210. Yeah,
is
90210.
what I'm trying
right?
to think of.
What's her name?
The people in the craft?
Yeah. Bro, you had it up.
I thought it was just the Spice Girls.
Nev
Right.
Campbell.
Nev Campbell, yeah.
She was in Scream.
Scream.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about Ernest Scared Stupid?
I love Ernest Scared Stupid.
Campbell loves every Ernest movie.
I do. Well, you know what? I'm gonna be honest. Saves Christmas is not really my jam. The beginning where like Ernest is driving the taxi and like there's that huge, he gets in tons of trouble on the freeway is pretty good. But like it just gets like too boring and sappy too quick. But I would say if I had to rate my top 3 Ernest movies, number 1 is for sure Ernest Goes to Jail. Number 2 is Ernest Scared Stupid, and number 3 is Ernest Goes to Camp. I do want to give special shout outs to both Ernest Slam Dunk and Ernest Rides Again. As maybe like I might have watched those more.
Why have you watched this many Ernest movies?
Ernest was my favorite character when I was growing up. Obviously,
I can see that.
Obviously,
Is Ernest P. What's his last
Ernest
name?
P. Worrell. But the thing is, they're really funny when you're a kid. But like, I went back and I watched Ernest Goes to Jail not too long ago, and it had me rolling on the floor for like different reasons. There's this scene where and when I was a kid, I loved all like the slapstick stuff. But there's this scene in Ernest Goes to Jail where Ernest is checking his mail. And he gets a jury duty letter, and he's so pumped that he gets to go to jury duty, which is hilarious that anybody would be pumped to go to jury duty.
That's actually me. I really want to go to jury duty.
Well, okay, here's the thing. I want to go to jury duty now that, like, when I was younger and, like, my jobs were more, like, tumultuous, I would not have wanted to do that. Although now that my job's really busy, jury duty would also be a drag, but it would be fun. Anyway, he gets so excited, he goes into his neighbor's house where they're like rent-a-cops and they're practicing with live round ammunition, firing a pistol inside their house. And Ernest runs in and he runs across the line of fire to come show him the paper, which is all like just genius, but it's like a totally understated part of the movie versus like the Ernest faces. And anyway, Ernest Goes to Jail. Highly recommend.
I've
Ernest is
also
the
never
best.
been called for jury duty
I've
ever.
been called 3 times.
I've been called twice. Once when I was in college, but you get the exemption to not have to do it. And then I just got called this year, but I was on call, and they told me they didn't need me. I was really bummed out.
Same.
I wanted to do it.
I actually wanted to do it this time too.
Yeah.
But 2 times ago, I had to go for 2 days, and I was working a job where like I was already kind of under the gun, not through like any fault of my own. It was just kind of a toxic place. And then the time before that, I was not getting paid to be at jury duty, like by my work, because I was like part-time in college, and I didn't take an exemption, but I didn't get called. I think because I was like young enough where I thought everything should be legal, and so like when they were asking questions about like my political opinions, I immediately got kicked out because like both the prosecuting and defending people thought I had ridiculous ideals, and I did at that age. So
I think, obviously being a former social studies teacher, it makes sense that I would be interested in that. When I'm talking about, any government class I would have taught, it would have been obviously a valuable experience to share with them. So I always wanted it, and it never happened. So holding out hope.
buddy, I guess you're not a teacher anymore, but
I'm not.
You still get called. There's plenty of time left.
Is Ernest the American equivalent of Mr. Bean?
No.
No, they're not close.
They're like foils, because like Ernest is kind of everything that Mr. Bean's not. Like Mr. Bean is like kind of he gets like upset easily. He's like kind of vindictive. He's kind of like particular. Ernest is like good natured, and he's kind of like a golden retriever type guy, and always wants to help people out, but he's always making a mess of things. Like, Mr. Bean's kind of a wile E. Coyote, and Ernest is kind of I don't know who's the cartoon character. Maybe Mr. Bean's not a wile E. Coyote, but he's kind of like that.
You mean like the Roadrunner?
Well, no, Mr. Bean is always just like getting into trouble because he's like, he's a comedy character who like he does his things his own way and it causes trouble for other people, or he'll get in like a snarky like wordless fight with other people about like wanting to like have the armrest and stuff like that. Ernest would be like get himself stuck in a toilet,
Cam, what are the Mr. Bean and the Ernest board games? What is the Ernest board game and what is the Mr. Bean board game?
So I think the Ernest board game, you have to.
Did you say Ernest Borgnine?
Ernest
Board game.
Ernest Borgnine. Yeah, that guy has a funny face. So what a good classic character actor. I think in the Ernest board game, you obviously do Ernest Goes to Camp, and it's a cooperative game, and you have to beat like the bad kids camp in that race, so that the camp doesn't get torn down by like the people who only want money. I think the Mr. Bean game is like everybody is chasing around like $100 bill that's floating in the breeze, and like you're fighting each other to like get it, or
So it's a
something-
dexterity game.
No. Like it's like a take that. It's really take thatty. But maybe I'm not remembering Mr. Bean as well. But I feel like he's always like, he's always either fighting with like a person in a really low stakes social situation, or he's fighting with like an animal, or like his car, or like like a shirt collar that like won't stay down, or
Are you also describing Larry David?
that's kind of Larry David. Like Mr. Bean is more like, ruins his day. Larry David is more like everything he does ruins his life.
I just remember that actor when he was in the movie Rat Race.
Yeah, and that's a good like Rowan Atkinson. I've never seen Blackadder, but I'm wondering if that's similar. I did see the thing he did recently where he's like there's the bee in his house. You guys know what I'm talking about on Netflix?
Yeah. He was
like, and maybe like that is like coloring more of my thoughts of Mr.
when he
Bean.
destroys the whole house.
Because like things just keep going worse for him in that one.
Yeah, so speaking of bad movies, I saw the other day that they're remaking Leprechaun with Peter Dinklage as the Leprechaun.
I loved the Leprechaun movies.
Yeah,
That's so funny. Are they going to do In the Hood?
In the Hood, Leprechaun in space. That along
Is
with
Jennifer Aniston going to come back and reprise her role in Leprechaun?
I'm gonna guess probably not, but
I think my favorite power that the Leprechaun ever has in the first one, he has the ability to shut doors but not lock them. So like he shuts it and then they just open the door and walk out.
it's just so goofy. I just remember watching a lot of that and those critter movies back in the 80s, like the little rolling balls full of
Yeah.
teeth. And I think like the very first one of that, I looked back because I watched it a few years back, and that actually has Leonardo DiCaprio in it, I think. Like a super young Leo.
My favorite little 80s movie with Gremlins, for sure.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
Gremlins is
Gremlins pretty
great.
good.
I watched that movie so many times. So many times.
I love me some Mogwais.
It might have been 90s, but Harry and the Hendersons was the jam for me.
That's good, too. That was 80s. That was an 80s movie.
Yeah, it
Okay.
was. I liked Harry and the Hendersons as well.
Me too.
All right, this is Board Boy Rob here. We're taking a break from our regularly scheduled programming to talk to Dave Kuntz about Capital City Gaming Convention, a.k.a. Cardboard Caucus. Dave, how
Yep.
you doing?
Not too bad. How about yourself?
Pretty good. So, why don't you tell us a little more about Capital City Gaming Con?
Capital City Gaming Con is going to happen October 11th through 13th. We have been doing this for, I believe it was 4 years now. This will be the 5th year. Formerly, it was Cardboard Caucus. We did decide to change the name to Capital City Gaming Con due to Cardboard Caucus kind of having to deal with politics, and politics can be a little divisive. So we want to.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was known for the caucus for sure, but yeah, we want to shy away from any politics whatsoever. But yeah, it's happening again this year in October.
And that's Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Friday,
and
Saturday, Sunday.
At the Hilton Garden Inn still.
Yep.
In West Des Moines.
West Des Moines. Yep. Some of the cool things we're going to bring back. We're bringing back the board game wagon.
They have a really good
they have a huge
library.
selection. Yeah.
Like the other kind of local-ish con I've gone to is GammaCon, which I like, but their library is not anywhere near the one you guys bring in.
Right. Yeah, I was at GammaCon this past winter. I guess, or was it be spring? I think it was February. But yeah, I that was the only other con I've been to. So I was kind of surprised with the library there, but their library is set up a bit different, where they kind of use money that they get, whereas ours through Board Game Wagon, we've got thousands of games there. One thing, another thing we're bringing back, we got the garage sale coming back. I know I'm a huge fan. Partooken. I don't know what the correct terminology, but definitely take part of that every year. Usually walk out with more than I get rid of. Let's see what else.
That can happen.
Yeah.
I'll be running the virtual flea market again this year,
There you
I
go.
think. If you are in the local Des Moines area and want to do some game trading, we actually have also opened it up to non-con attendees, which is hopefully going to help with the numbers as
Yep.
far as that. But if you've never done a math trade, basically imagine Dave and I want to trade a game, but he doesn't want my game, I don't want his game. But then there's Bob, the third party, that maybe wants one of our games, and then Dave wants one of his games. And so, person A gives a game to B that gives a game to C, and there's an algorithm that basically finds all the best trades out there. It seems a lot more complicated than it is. I think I will probably run maybe I don't know. I'm kind of thinking about maybe running a Zoom session of like, hey, do you want to participate in the math trade? Here's like a 10-minute meeting or whatever. We can kind of talk about it so you can feel good about yourself going into it.
Yeah, Math Trade 101.
Yeah,
with Rob.
don't be. There is a good Rado runs through like video. He has like a series of 4 or 5 videos. But if that seems overwhelming, I can just kind of show you the super basics. Pre-COVID, when I ran this thing, it was huge. We had tons and tons of trade. Post-COVID, we brought it into the con, and it just has not been the same since. So I'm hoping to get it jump-started back up there into those bigger trade numbers again.
A few other things we got. We got play-to-wins. We've had play-to-wins since the start, but we do have some donations from some game companies. We've got giveaways. We've got vendors. I know Dungeons Gate is going to be out there again. Rob and Melissa, I think, have been there since I think it's the first year, second
Probably,
year. Yeah, because they just had their 4-year anniversary.
Yep.
And then Atlas Games, we're working on a few others. We've also, I think the very first year we had merch for sale for Cardboard Caucus. I don't think we've done shirts or stickers since then, but this year we are going to have shirts back for sale. You can get those on the Capital City Gaming Con website. But other than that, that's
what is the website?
Oh, that's a great question. Putting me on the spot.
I mean, it's capitalcitygamingcon.com.
Let's just say yes.
Or if you go to tabletopevents.com,
Yes.
you can search for the Capital City Gaming Con. Tabletop Events is the website that runs most of the conventions in America.
Yep.
And from there, you can buy your badges, and it'll give you all the information and stuff. I'm sure if you Google Capital City Gaming Con, you're going to
Yep.
find it too. But tabletopevents.com is where you're going to sign up for it anyway. And then eventually that's where like events are going to be shown up, so you can go and you can submit a game you want to run, and then people can get virtual tickets to join your game. Or you guys run lots of events. Like there's a Crokinole tournament. I'm kind of thinking of running maybe a Challengers tournament.
Okay.
Could be fun. The other thing I'm thinking about, because I just played in one at Gen Con, Rolling Dice and Taking Names does a Strike tournament. And that is super fun. I think Strike makes for a really cool tournament kind of thing. So I might look into doing something like that too. Some kind of Board Boys official event tournament.
Yeah.
I'm working on the details. I'm also probably going to throw up a couple of Board Boys like plays where I just bring a game and you can play, whatever game that we put up there. Those have been kind of popular in the past. Like I've taught Dwellings of Elder Vale and some of those kind of the bigger boxy games, or like the deluxe Castles of Burgundy, or I got Big Takanoko. I got all kinds of big games that I like to take to conventions. I'll bring my giant rhino hero. That's always a convention favorite.
Yeah.
I remember at BGG Con, there's always a giant tower going on in like the main ballroom, and like when it falls over, everyone just kind of goes, "Oh!" It's a spectacle to be had.
Yep. One new thing we have coming this year is an app that you download onto your phone called Meeple Meet. This is where you can sign up for a game, kind of like the tabletop events that we've had in the previous years. This time you can sign up for a game. It will pinpoint on the map that we have input into the app where you're going to be playing that game. Any players that are signed up for it, they will. You can chat with them. Like let's say you're playing Nemesis at noon, but it's running a bit long, and you've got a 3 o'clock Dwellings. You can message that group, let them know, hey, I'm going to be a little bit late for 3 o'clock, and it'll message everybody in that group. what you got going on. So that's new this year. We had a meeting last week about it, and yeah, we pulled the trigger on it. Sounded like a sweet idea to get that in the con.
Yeah, the Dealt Hand, I think, used
Yep.
that app at their gaming retreat, and it worked pretty slick.
Yep.
And I mean, that's another thing I really like about if you're on the fence or have never been to the Des Moines convention, now Capital City Gaming Con, give it a shot. I mean, you can just get the day badge, you can get the weekend badge, whatever. There's like looking for player signs. There's always people looking for games. There's lots of games to be played. If you see a guy in a Board Boys shirt, stop and talk to us. We'd be happy to sit down and play a game with you. Do you know, is there going to be more gaming space this year?
There will be more gaming space.
I know we're starting to hit kind of the caps at some points during the day.
Yep. Yeah, we are going to have those 4 tables outside of where the board game wagon folks were. There was about 4 or 5 tables there that had the hot games in the previous years. Those are going to be open for us to utilize this year. We've got the bar area. We've got that the open area with along the windows where the entrance, I think it's that north entrance of the hotel. We've got to have those. But yeah, we definitely were stretched on space last
Hopefully
year.
the heat works out
Oh, yeah.
this year. We played, we recorded our podcast live. We'll do another live podcast probably from Cardboard Caucus, but man, we recorded out there in the cold, and we played Pirates of Maracaibo. That's where we played our Game of Thrones game. Like, we had like our hoodie on.
Yeah.
Because it was cold those days. It
Yeah.
was, I mean, what was it? It was
It
only
was-
October, right?
Yeah, it was only October.
Ugh.
Yeah, it was probably 30, 20 degrees outside.
Yeah.
I remember just running out to my car, and you had to bundle up because
Yeah.
it was nuts. But we're gonna do the Game of Thrones
I mean,
again.
how can we not?
How could we not?
The annual Game of Thrones game is on.
But yeah, Capital City Gaming Con, October 11th, 12th, and 13th. Like Rob said, if you haven't been to a con before, we're just a smaller con in the Midwest here. If you're from Iowa, Nebraska, Minnesota, come on down. Usually we average about 300, 400 people throughout the whole con. But yeah, we'll see if we can beat some numbers that we had last year.
I'd say like Saturday's definitely the busiest
Yep.
day, of course. But there's people there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yep.
And it's great. I love that you guys started this up, and it is a fantastic, entryway into going to a convention because it's small and it has all the trappings of what you want like a convention to be, because you can play games. There are some like vendors there, and then
Yep.
like play to win is super fun.
Yep.
So you can always get a chance to play a game and win it later.
Yep. And we are going to have Our Family Plays Games. They will be out there again. They usually have giveaways for their podcast. But yeah, we'll have several play to wins, and we're getting more as we speak. But yeah, I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Dave. And back to our regularly scheduled programming. Boing, boing, boing. Well, this is a board game podcast, and we do talk
talked a little bit
about
board
sometimes.
games.
Yeah,
We did a little bit.
I'd like to talk about Ziggurat. It is a 2024 release, a family-friendly legacy story game with 6 surprise-filled chapters, 2 to 4 players. Weight is 1.5 out of 5. The designers Rob Davio and Matt Leacock, and the publisher's Mindware. I had seen this one on like some Gen Con preview lists, and then there were like flyers for it everywhere at Gen Con. And Bo and I kind of checked it out, and we liked the table presence of it. You build like a little 3D ziggurat thing that basically, if you've ever played a game called Mole Rats in Space, I have not, but I was told that this kind of re-implements it. And we have played through 4 of the 6 chapters so far. The game will be replayable, I think, at any of the chapter levels if you want, using any... Basically, Game 1 was a lot simpler than Game 4 has been. I would almost wager to say, like, Game 4, 1.5 seems kind of light on the weight. Game 4, I feel like, is almost getting more than Bo likes to handle. He really liked the first 3 games, and then something that was introduced in the 4th one, he's like, this is just too much stuff now. So,
Yeah, we did finish, and he was like, "Hey, Dad, I'm gonna go do something else now."
yeah, like we played game 4 tonight. We played it with his friends, the first 3 and the 4th one, and the 4th game was the first time we lost. But basically on your turn, you draw a card, you play a card, you move your character or everyone's character or someone else's character, or just whatever the card says, and then you move these spirits around the tower. And if you fall into a hole, you lose the game. If one of the spirits makes it to the top of the ziggurat, you lose the game. If you cross any of the spirits, you die and you lose the game. And so it's all about trying to make the spirits fall in the hole, and you're trying to pick up these little tokens, and you're just trying to make it to the top of the ziggurat, basically. It's a fun family weight co-op, I think. The first couple of games, I was kind of like, well, this is kind of easy and not that exciting. But I think games 3 and 4 really made it more interesting. And I'm interested to see where games 5 and 6 go. So that is Ziggurat.
It 6 total?
Yeah. But then it's like infinitely replayable after that. Like it's just a co-op game you've made at that point. But you make some choices, like your board is going to look different than other people's boards because you'll be putting stickers and such on them. So your placement could be different than someone else because you have some choices to make.
Okay. That sounds cool.
A lot of them are arbitrary, but they're still choices.
So there's 6 total.
Yep.
Okay. Do you think you'll play it after you're done?
I think so. I mean, this will probably be up there. I mean, especially because it's short. Like you can play the game in 20 minutes.
Okay.
So it's like a 20 to 30 minute co-op.
Cool. I got one. So I got a chance to play Arcs, which was about a 4-hour game, which I think is about 2 hours longer than the box says. It was a cool experience. I think we'll probably, I'm going to pick up a copy, so I think we'll probably do an episode. I won't dive really deep, but there was your action selection is almost a, I don't know, everybody's been calling it trick-taking. It's almost a trick-taking part where you play a card that has a suit and a number on it, and the lower the number, kind of the worse the suit will be for turn order that like going into the next round, but gives you more actions. So you have to follow suit. If you don't follow suit, you can copy or pivot, which is basically do one action of the suit that's up or one action of the card that you have. You can manipulate turn order a little bit, and then like a combination of Root and Oath and all those other games. It is wildly Kingsley, and the cards are all over the place, and it was quite a cool experience. I would recommend anybody playing it. If you don't take that, just know that you're going to get that going into it. But it was cool.
I'm really excited to give it a try.
Yeah, and I am interested in what the 3-game campaign looks like and how that affects the Kingsley stuff, because sometimes it doesn't matter. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can get to a point where it's like, all right, well, Rob's going to win, so we'll just all stop playing, where I think that could lend to, well, maybe I need to score 2 more points, even though I'm going to be down 27-24. Going to the next game, they'll put me in a better position or something, So
It'd be interesting to see what I think if... I feel like that is something I would enjoy in a shorter form game, and in a longer form game, I just might be angry afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, the box says 60 to 120 minutes.
Can you imagine that game ever being an hour?
Yes. Like, if you play it 2 players, which I think would probably be pretty good at 2 players, I don't know how it would go over an hour and a half. Like, and I think you could probably play it at 4 players at 2 hours. It just would be, everybody's got to kind of know what they're doing. There is a lot of, like Root and TI and stuff like that. There's a lot of checking the rule book. Once you get over that hump, I think you'd be good. Voidfall kind of the same thing. We just got to kind of look it up, and then once you got into this thing means this, then it probably smooth sailing. So it was cool.
You just gotta have one person that knows what's up.
Yeah, I play a bunch of Root, and Root always gets faster and faster, and it gets less and less depressing when you just get housed, because it's just like, well, the game only goes to 30 points.
Right. Yeah, it was cool.
I do not have anything to talk about. I've been busy and not able to play much board games, so hopefully next time I will.
Yeah, we're recording on a short week, so...
I want to talk about... I'm going to skip a couple other things. I may tack something else on at the end, but the main thing I want to talk about is the Cats and Quilts of Calico, or Quilts and Cats of Calico. I picked up a bunch of board game apps on the Humble Bundle when there was just a ridiculous amount of board game apps for $18 because our our boy Rob Cooper said he wanted to play Calico with other people, and this app is blowing me away as far as board game apps go because while I'm not really one of those like heckin' wholesome sort of guys where it's like, oh, I get to pet the cats and dogs in a game. They did something pretty neat with the Calico board game. So it's got a single player campaign, which is like weirdly kind of dark. Like it takes place in like this really cozy world where everybody's like outfits have like different patches and they all like revere cats and everything's like really colorful. But like, and you go to like this town called Tom Kitty to become like the best button master or whatever. But there's also a war going on, and they're continually reference like this violent war that's happening between like that and a neighboring kingdom. So that's kind of weird. But when you're playing, like cats are walking all around.
Sounds like a cat fight to me.
Yeah, exactly. And you can like press a button to make the cats like go like sit in the corner where they don't bother your board. But basically, like you're putting the patches on, and you can like with your mouse you can like pet the cats, and they like get pumped. But there's also a cat editor where you can make these weird like abomination cats, or you can make like really cute cats if you want, and then you can like assign them to like the different Calico scoring objectives so that like those cats show up. And I think the goal is like for people to be able to make their own cat to be like their favorite objective. And
So whenever do cats follow instructions? It seems weird that you couldn't like press a button and have them just get out of the way.
I think it's supposed to be like the button like makes them like it's time to sleep or whatever,
okay.
and they like go off and like rest. But they also if you like want them walking around the quilt, but you like need to place something somewhere, and you like mouse over it, like with a quilt piece, they'll like kind of run off and like, oh, okay, sorry, I'll get out of your way.
Yeah, and then they'll come back and drop a mouse in your lap.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I just think that it's designed very well, and kudos to the people who did it. Little bit weird on the like the narrative in the campaign, but it's very fun. It plays like I've only played on Steam, but like the tactile like clicking and dragging the patch kind of goes like whoop when you take it, and like you drop it and it like kind of sews in, and it's pretty cool. Anyway,
Like the Patchwork app.
kind of, yeah.
Patrick app rules.
Yeah. So I'm just saying that I think they've done a good job with that one, and if you're looking for a puzzle game to maybe single play that's like kind of light puzzler, obviously Calico can be very frustrating because you're trying to get everything right, but it's, like the rules are always easy, you know. Place a patch, take a patch, and in Quilts and Cats of Calico in the story mode, you can see what patches are like coming next in the bag. So it's kind of like puzzle mode in like, you know, one of those games where you can see like seven things down, like what are coming. You can actually see all the patches for the entire game.
I wish there was like a Steam app that I could play Steam games on my tablet, because I would play it way more often.
You just gotta switch your tablet out to a Steam Deck.
Yeah, but that's like a handheld video console, right?
Yeah.
It's not like as big
it's like
as
a Switch, yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I need like a big screen.
Oh, yeah, because you're old.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
my big iPad.
Yeah.
Or I mean, I know they have like the iPad version of the game, right? But they never have these sales for that. It's always these Steam sales or whatever.
You should figure out a way to like screen grab your computer into your iPad and just do it.
I mean, I could just grab my computer. I mean, don't get me wrong. I probably still wouldn't do it that often, but just the thought.
Right.
I hate having to buy a game for multiple different platforms
I would
when
agree
you
with
own
that.
it in one spot.
Yeah.
Just my like. I think I would like to play Brass, Birmingham, but if I bought it on Steam, like I'd probably never play it.
Right.
But I'd probably play it if it was on BGA,
Yeah.
or I could buy it like the iOS app or something. Come on, developers, just give us everything we want all the time.
Why don't you
Yeah, I
develop
want
it?
everything all the time too. Hey, I'm playing another video game that is really well made. I just want to shout out really quick. Is
Duke Nukem 3D.
Steam World Heist 2 is the bomb. If you like those Steam World games or whatever, like Steam World Dig and Steam World this and that, this one is sick.
Is it like Dig Dug?
No, so what you're doing is it's a 2D.
It's exactly like
The
Dig Dug.
SteamWorld Dig is like Dig Dug, kinda, but SteamWorld Heist 2, you have a ragtag group of like piratey Steam bots, and you take them on like a 2D kinda tactics RPG, where you go like attack other ships, and you go board the ship, and then you move through and you use rickety dickety like steam guns to like blast each other into buckets of bolts, and it's just one of the better made games I've played in a long time, and it's very stylish and very fun, and it plays fast and like it respects your time. It's just a good game, so go check it out. SteamWorld Heist 2.
It looks way different than I was expecting it to.
It's so good.
Like it's very. I was expecting it to be like the way you described it, pixelated, like a pixel art game.
Well, it is kind of a pixel art game, but
Yeah.
it's not, no, it's like a
This is-
hand drawn art game.
Yeah. This the art is way better than I was expecting it to be.
And it's like the music is great, the design is great, it's fun. The different character classes you play, you can like mix and match stuff, kind of like Final Fantasy Tactics, where you can take your favorite abilities from one job you've done and like combine them with the current job you're doing for like neat combos. Anyway, SteamWorld Heist 2. Check it out.
There's just one more I want to talk about. I know I talked about it last week, but we played it before the podcast, and it's called Bomb Busters. The designer is Hisashi Hayashi, and it's from Pegasus Spiel. Just as a recap, it's kind of like The Mind or Hanabi, where you kind of all have your hidden information, and you're trying to cut a bunch of wires, and there's 66 missions, and you lose if you mess up too many times or you cut the red wire. Well, we played it a bunch more, and we actually have opened up the first box and played a little bit more of that. I played it at 2, 3, 4, and 5 players at this point, and I'm excited to play more. Like, even within the box, like the first box, every card seems like it kind of just changes like minor rules about things using even the existing stuff. So I'm just curious how different all of these things could be. I would not be surprised to see this game nominated for the Spiel des Jahres next year.
Oh, really?
It's really fun.
Because I feel like it's that weight, and I feel like it's got that appeal, and like I'm pretty sure like a Hanabi was, and like Sky Team just won the Spiel des Jahres. Like I feel like
The Crew was in consideration for that too. Yeah.
Yes, like I feel like this is kind of that jam, and it's like replayable. So it's not like once you've played all 66 missions, it's like, well, we can't play it anymore. No, you can just go play whatever mission you want over again because the stuff's going to be split up differently.
Yeah, there's no information that you're finding out that's going to ruin that
Or
experience.
like you and your buddies can get together for an afternoon and play all 66 missions.
Sheesh. I don't know. I think when I first got this, I thought it'd be a lot easier than it is, and I feel like it's a lot more difficult. Although we got better at it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a lot of those games where I feel like once you play it with the same group a little bit, you start to kind of get a feel and a flow. But what I like about this is I think it's going to throw enough curveballs to switch that up.
I think it's more like Sudoku or however you say it,
That's
where you learn kind of backwards deduction rules about who has what. Like, because like when you first start playing, you're just looking at like what hints people have and like what's really obvious. But it's kind of like those kind of puzzles where it's actually like the negative information can really help you.
You got to read between the lines.
Yeah. So I think it just gets easier because you get smarter at like knowing what could be where, and like you take fewer hopeful risks and more like very calculated risks, and less risks in general because you start like being able to pick out what is the exact thing to choose every turn.
I say the only thing that I think is a little goofy is when you play with less than 4 people. Like the captain has to play basically 2 hands, but that hand is considered one hand, but they're separated into 2 different hands in 2 different ascending orders. But that one person has like double the information everybody else has. It kind of balances out because it's kind of hard to manage both of those things, and it's still considered one hand, so you can't give as much information. I think it's less weird at 2 players because you're both
You both
like
have it,
that.
okay.
But I think 4 is probably a pretty good spot for that because everyone has their own. And then 5, I mean, you're just playing with an extra player, and not a lot of games go to 5 that are cool like that, I think. So
Busters.
plus the art's cute.
The art is cute.
All right, well, tonight we played Evenfall. The battle for the enchanted throne begins.
Is that pretty good?
Very nice.
World in winds and powers in place.
I think it's thoughts return like butterflies. I never knew that until I looked it up, and I was like, yeah, I still can't hear it.
Evenfall.
It is 1 to 4 players. Best at 2 and 3. I can see that. 60 to 120 minutes. Ages 14 plus. Weight is 3 out of 5. The designer is Stefano de Silva. Artist is Martin Motet. And the publisher is DLP and Nanox Games.
Nanox.
Evenfall is currently ranked 1,580 overall at a 7.8. Jaker, why don't you tell us what's up in Evenfall?
Evenfall. Evan.
Evenfall.
Everdell.
Ah.
Maybe it is Evenfall.
Oh, I guess it could. I mean, it's an E, but
Yeah.
it could be Evenfall.
It could be either one.
It could be. Okay, so there are 4 different factions. So they are the Shield, the Cross. Either you remember what the other ones were? I don't remember. 4 different factions.
That was the dump, I think.
I don't
Because
think
my guys like to dump
I was
their
the
cards.
Blood Witches.
based on the color, but they are factions that are different. So basically, each group leans into a different part of the game to kind of give some diversity. There is a sun side, which standardizes things, and then there's a moon side that has the different asymmetrical powers, which are definitely change the way that you want to approach it. So basically what's going to happen is you have a board in front of you, and you have 4 witches, and you have 4 elders. The witches can go out to interact with the main board. There are different locations or regions that you can visit. So in a non-2-player game, there are 3 different regions, and you are doing I think 5 different actions. You're either pulling places of power, you are placing rituals on those places of power, you are acquiring specialists or electing them to be council members, and then you are you have the ability to activate your clan token, which is going to harvest resources from your different places of power. And then the last thing that you can do is you can build. I forget what the word was to call those. Catalysts, I think was the word. So you can build different things on your rituals that either allow you to harvest more things or move up a coven track, which is on the side of your board. You play over 3 rounds. Once everybody has passed in any given round, then you go to a battle phase, and there's basically an area control element. There's kind of a unique element to how that's determined, in that it's not just the winner gets everything. It's based on the amount of power or mana that you devoted to it. You get different rewards, and then there's a power stone you can earn if you win that region. At the end of the game, which again is 3 rounds, you are going to score the points on your specialist, you are going to score the points on your council members that have endgame abilities, and then you are going to score the rituals on the places of power that have moved down into your inner circle. And that is Evenfall.
Evenfall.
Everfall.
How is Evanescence spelled? Is it an A?
I think it's Evanescence.
So I feel like listening to Evanescence would match the
Wake
aesthetic of this
me
game.
wake me up, and you can't wake up. You guys remember that? Those
that-
2 like
is
kind
that-
of trashy people who would do karaoke. And maybe I'll put it as the middle song.
Please do.
Is that Evanescence?
Evanescence.
All right,
That
let's
was
get
the
to the
biggest one.
table, and we'll get back
I
with
did
our
spell
thoughts.
Evanescence exactly right,
Of course you did.
which is hilarious.
Well, let's get to the table and come back with our thoughts on Evenfall.
How can you see into my eyes like open doors, leading you down into my core, where I've become so numb, without a soul, my spirit sleeping somewhere.
right, we're back. Campbell, this is your first time playing. What do you think?
When Jake was describing this game, I was like, oh no, it's one of those games with the cards and the effects. And like I was getting these nightmares of like that undersea game that Josh had liked.
Aquatica.
It's like Res Arcana or Race Arcana or however it's pronounced, which is fine. That game's fine. It's Tom Lehman, right? Which I like Race for the Galaxy. But I ended up liking this one more than those games.
Spoilers.
And we'll see just how much more in the as I puzzle it apart in the review.
I can go next. So I think my first impressions were, upon reading the rulebook, I didn't think it seemed like it was too complicated. So that was kind of nice going in. But the first time playing it, I thought, man, there's just so many things that you can forget to do, and also a couple aesthetic things that are maybe poor choices that I'm sure we'll talk about in cons. So I think that was my takeaway the first time.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty similar. The teach, I think, is pretty easy, and then you start getting cards, and you're like, oh, this is a lot. And the cards can do multiple things, and it kind of, I don't know, started to pile up a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, we can talk through it.
Yeah, this game came out, I think, at Essen last year, and it was in the BGG hot room or on the list to get there. People seem pretty interested in it. I don't know if it ended up actually making it there. I don't remember seeing it.
I think it is a 2023 release.
But
when you look on BGG.
but I remember looking at it and being like, I didn't really get what it was originally. And then when you got it, I was like, oh, it's a card game. Which, I mean, it's got a fairly large table presence for a card game. So that's what I thought.
So I'm ready to get pros going because I think this is what I liked about this game when we first take a look at it. Okay, so there is a really manageable number of different things to do. Even though you get a bunch of cards and you have to choose where to put them. There's basically only two types of cards. There's ritual cards, which will go on the lands that you grab. And there are assistant or whatever cards, specialist cards, that will either become they're multi-use, they'll either become a scoring condition or they'll become a special ability. So you can take your stack of cards and you can chuck one of them on one side and one on the other. Then when it comes to designations, there's only 3 designations and they both share them. There's artifacts, familiars, and enchantments. So no matter what, you're only dealing with 3 sub-designations. There's 3 types of resources, and then there's power and points. And that's basically the whole game. So you're not some of these other games with multi-use cards and other things to do get into all these contingencies. Whereas I thought this was much more manageable, and it was easy for me to pick out a few cards I wanted to play and have the rest be okay, when I have to trash stuff, because you can turn cards into resources at a kind of a painful ratio, but you still can do it with all the cards you don't need. I think I prefer overall the Race for the Galaxy sort of thing, where you just your card is your resource and I just burn cards to play cards. I like that because then it's truly committing the stuff I don't want. It teaches you that you don't need to read all these. You're going to have to spend some anyway, so just pick the ones you want and kind of forget about the rest. But I thought that it was deep enough where I think I could try different strategies for scoring, but shallow enough where it didn't blow my mind the first time we played.
I think the different player powers are really interesting, and they definitely give you a way to lean in regards to what your group does better than others, but it doesn't, I don't think, distract from making you play the game a certain way. It just kind of makes certain aspects of the game easier for you, and I think that is interesting. So I think it is definitely something where it'd be a unique feel to be each of the different 4 groups, and I tend to like that when games give you asymmetrical powers. They may as well be something that actually changes the experience of what it feels like, and I think this does a good job of that.
Yeah, mine felt very strong, but I still had to do all the things. But the way I did it with these guys let me focus on trying to get more of the things I generate more juice out of. So I thought that was really good. I haven't seen any other factions to see if I think they're like pretty well balanced, but I felt like Jake's exactly right about what he just said.
I think the player aids are pretty good. Those little square things that show you kind of all the actions you can do. The actions you can take are all fairly simple. I'm not a huge multi-use cards guy, but I like the way they did it in this one. I think it's cool where you can tuck the people either underneath your board for like end of round, end of game stuff, or for ongoing abilities. And I also like the fact that like almost everything in this game feels like powerful. I remember the first time we played, I found a card that I'm like, this thing's insane. Like I'm gonna kill you guys, and then I lost by a bunch of points. So, I don't know. It just because as we were playing, I'm like, your card does what, and that does that, and this does that. So, lots of cool abilities.
There are some really cool synergies that you can find amongst those cards too that I don't think only work with the other cards. Like there's not like set, I have to have this card to make this work, but there's some fun little gambits that you can build from that. So I think that is something that leads to a high level of replayability in that you can find fun ways to do things. And if you're somebody who gets enjoyment out of finding that puzzle of things that run into each other, I think that this could be a game you really enjoy in that regard.
I really like so there's two different kinds of workers, and they both have, depending on factions you are, they both have different worker spots they can go to, but the worker placement, I don't know, conundrum between, you have 4 regular witches, they can go into a circle in 3 different locations, which will let you pull a, what are they called?
Places of power.
A place of power that goes in your inner circle, or they can go to a worker placement spot, which gives you all 3 of them. I think are really great actions. So, and then you can put them in your tableau on rituals, which are on places of power. That can also be great actions. So, like having to figure out how to use those, I think is really interesting. And then when you push your place of power into your inner circle, down, you push them down. You can use a different set of 4 workers that you can start to, get more than 4 actions around and stuff. I thought that was probably the most interesting part for me, is using those workers and then having them in the right spots. So at the end of the round, you battle correctly for the rewards you want or the stones that you want. I thought it's a cool worker placement mechanism in between the cards.
I really like the production of the game. I think all the art is pretty good. The graphic design on the cards is pretty clear. All the iconography is good. The little wooden resources are nice.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the sculpts for the 2 wooden meeples. I don't know, like they kind of just look like funny gnomes. I like those guys.
One's got a pointy hat, one's got a floppy hat.
Yeah, one's got the floppy hat.
2 best kind of hats. I mean, after Fedora.
Yeah, and then I think there's like plenty of cards. I know there's like multiples of some of them.
I think there's 2 of every card. It says.
But I still felt like you just see a bunch of different cards, and so you have a bunch of different choices if you're into that kind of thing.
Yep, I think that. I think that there, for me, and I want to go on the record first to say that I do not think this game is all that similar to the game I'm going to compare it to, but in the way that your turns progress, I feel like there's some similarities, but I really get Ruins of Arnak vibes from this in the fact that there aren't that many different resources. It's something where you are really trying to manage the amount of time and the timing of when you do things. And so do I do something now versus do I wait a little bit longer to make it better? But then you kind of can feel the strain of, well, I can't get what I want to do to be able to do it without it. And that's very Arnak to me. Traveling to different locations and earning the things that are there. And the card play, knowing what comes up there and trying to finding ways with those cards to best make use of the resources and the number of workers you're able to place. So I feel some similarities there, and that for me at least is a game that I always find new ways to approach that puzzle, and I think that this probably will lend itself in a similar way to me.
This game has a ton of ways to get points during the game. I feel like a lot of point salads like hit you with huge end game juice, which this one does have end game scoring, but I think probably only a quarter of my points maybe were earned that way this game.
I mean, I would say definitely less. I think you hit 100 mid-game and you ended up at 130 something or 50 something.
Well, like,
So, yeah, I guess
like
that's a good
140.
rate.
So, I mean, I think I got 30 endgame points, and I think I got, 110. So, like, more than 25% would have been my. But it's close, well, no. Like
it was
less
about a-
like less than 25%.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, so I think that was pretty cool. That like there's ways to work out like scoring engines in this one. I think a lot of times board game scoring engines don't work out in favor of you like when there's end game points on the line, like case in point Coimbra last week or like 2 times ago, I guess. Where there's that scoring track in the middle of the game and like it doesn't really play, but like in this one you can find ways to basically get a couple points for every action you take, and you're just kind of using that terrible score tracker to be like, hey, I get 2 more points, I get 2 more points, I get 2 more points. Or in Jake's case, I get 10 more points, I get 10 more points, I get 10 more points. I shouldn't be making fun of him because I smoked him at
Did
this.
not smoke me
I won by like 10 points.
out of 150.
You basically doubled us.
Yeah, that's a pretty high percentage. I got like 5% better.
He was
score.
only 30 points ahead
I
of
was
you.
kidding. I was kidding. Generally, like scoring points is not like the fun thing to do in games. So like I can see, this one it trickles in on top of doing. You score 2 points and you get a resource, and you get to do this powerful thing, which I think is a little bit more fun than just being like, well, I just score 5 points and.
I
That's
feel
it.
like most things that you do have some measure of enjoyment. There aren't really turns where you're just like, well, that turn's completely sucked because you're trying to build things together. I think another thing I really enjoy about it, and again, I know that this is speaking to things that matter a lot to me and maybe don't to a lot of other people. I just feel like there's a lot of unique little mechanisms in a shell that is more or less familiar. When you're fighting for area control, it's not very common that you're benefiting for not even winning as long as you are able to meet the full level of what those rewards are. It doesn't matter if you win. Now, obviously, you want to get those power stones, but you are benefiting based on how much of the resource mana that you've acquired you're willing to expend. And I think that's kind of an interesting.
Yeah, that is
mechanism.
cool. It might be neat if there was like a little bit of a wrinkle there.
There is something I don't like about it, and I'll come back to that. But I do think that there are some unique elements that exist here.
So, yeah, well, maybe when we get to the cons, I think I have some thoughts on the battle stuff too. But I do like that. I do like that you're like guaranteed some reward if you spend something. And we can come back to the battles later. Good art in the game. Like that was cool. The things that happen when you build cards or like take your actions, I think always feel really good. It feels like you get a lot of stuff kind of for free, and then at the same time, it feels like when you have to pivot to get resources or expend something that you don't have, I think it feels like exactly the right amount of painful. Which I think both of those things make a game enjoyable. Like, I have a lot of stuff to spend, so I know what I can do. But when I'm trying to get extra out of it, I have to be, like, I can't just keep going and going forever. Like, once you get to, like, 0 and you're just holding, like, a hand of cards or, like, a little pile of resources, but things are getting more expensive, like, it winds down pretty quick.
There are also a lot of cards that interact with other people, so that increases some level of interest when it's other people's turns. Just because there's a lot of things that if I play this card, it allows you all to do X, and then I get whatever out of it. So I think that is another way to add some player interaction in outside of the area control. Fighting in the end of each round.
You guys want any more pros?
I think I'm ready.
All right.
I think it's just like it. I know Tim maybe didn't feel this way, but it just felt more manageable despite all the stuff because I had worker placement actions down below with like the cards I built. I think that sort of helped me remember to use my stuff. Like I think like the board's set up nice where it's like, hey, I take my action here or I play a card here and then I look over here at the bottom of my player board and here's all my scoring effects and I look over here at the side and there's all my passive effects. So I don't know. A lot of these games where you build a tableau, like Terraforming Mars, like your stuff could be spread all over. Like, oh, this happens, and I have these tags, and like Arc Nova stuff
Yep.
like that, or other card like tableau builders. I think this one's organized nice, where like all of the different types of effects are in different places.
I don't think it's as good as Coinbra's, but when we talked about that, I don't know that any game does that better than Coinbra because
Yeah.
as you're moving through it, but they are centralized to one set place, and I do think that is beneficial for not forgetting to take advantage of some of those things.
Cons. Who wants to say the first one?
Tim, you have, even though all of us hate it, you hate it the most, I think. So
It's by far the worst score track I've ever seen. Like, it's 1 through 10 where you move a disc, and then you have another disc for 10 through 20. And there's no divots. You stack discs on top of each other. You dink and duck points, so it's like very much you're moving between the two a lot. They get bumped. I don't
it's a
know.
little bitty board that spins really easy when it gets touched.
And there's the mana track underneath it that does a zigzag
Yeah.
pattern instead of just going straight across.
Yeah, where the other two go straight across.
Yeah.
And there is a high probability or possibility that you could bump your score 10 points without even really noticing if you're not paying attention.
Yeah, like if you want to keep the 0 to 10, why don't you just do 10-point chips or something? So
Yeah.
you're not. The scoring is a tough look for sure. That whole board is not good.
I was saying it earlier, but like if I wanted to be like, I'm going to put together the worst possible scoring board, I don't think I could have come up with something that was worse than that.
It's pretty bad because it's also just on its own thing, so it kind of slides around every time you touch it.
Yeah.
Uh,
And you're touching it not only for scoring a lot, but also
Yeah.
the mana.
yeah,
a
I was
lot.
scoring
Yeah.
every single turn.
Yeah.
Well, and because all 4 of your top discs are always on the 0 through 9, it's not even super obvious always. Okay, well I got 15 points. Okay, well what number am I on? Because I can't even use the numbers next to me to so you got to move all the discs off. Oh, I'm on 5. Okay, well I'm adding 17 points. I'm gonna move. It's bad. It's rough.
Yeah, like why not just? I mean, it maybe would have been a little more expensive to put a complete board in here with a track around it. But I mean, a lot of times I think games with like little paper scoring chits are annoying. But like, just let me dump a pile of victory points into the center.
I think Rob said the first time, like Voidfall, just give me a little spinner that has.
Yeah, oh
like,
yeah.
Well,
totally.
and they already gave you a spinner in the game for the mana. So
Right.
like,
Yeah.
why don't you do another one? Yeah, that's. I agree. I can't think of a game where I think keeping track of scores is worse.
2 D10s, and you can just score it like life counters or whatever.
Yeah, like, literally anything would be better than this. Like you could give me pennies in the box, and I'd be like, "This is better." Like, I got 200 pennies in front of me. It's great. Like, it would be better.
Yeah.
At least then I know Jake didn't get 10 points from just Cam bumping the thing around.
I mean,
Okay.
I don't feel like that probably happens, but it could.
I mean, I'm 100% sure Cam got an extra 10 points.
Maybe.
Yeah,
You're 100% sure?
100%.
I'm 0% sure. I'm 100% sure that I didn't get an extra 10. If anything, I lost 10 points. I'm ready to talk about what I don't like about the battle system. Let's see if it's the same thing you don't like. Do you
Okay.
want to go first or should I?
What do you want?
I don't like So I think the battle system is cool, but like now that I think about it, the reward for winning the battle, I don't even think is that great. Like you can win a battle. I mean, if you win a bunch of them, sure, but like just the reward for winning a battle, I think at most gets you like 4 points. Now there are the other things you use Power Stones for in the game, but like if I'm a dude who doesn't have any need for Power Stones because of my cards and because like I'm not that faction, like I'm just gonna go get the best reward every time. But there are cards that let you get stuff for like winning battles and things like that. So like that's different. But like the base reward for winning a battle seems a little underweighted.
Well, I think that, but I guess think about it this way though. When you win the battle, you're getting all 3 of those rewards anyway. So you're not really expending that much more than you're expending to get those rewards.
That's true. That is true.
But here's
And you're stopping somebody else from getting those points.
yes. My thing that I don't like is I guess I don't know why you're capped at spending 9 mana when you have a 20 mana track. Because then in those instances, every one of them you're like, well, we know who wins. And there's just really not any kind of mind game involved of, well, how much are they actually going to spend? Because those circumstances they're just determined. And so it just, I don't like the way that that plays out. And I think if you just got rid of the cap, then that fixes that to some extent. I mean, it might make people spend way more than what the value of what they're actually getting is, but I don't know. I just don't like how deterministic that is, which seems weird and not something that I would normally say, but I guess I don't really know why you add mana that way when you are capping it and you just know who's going to win.
Yeah.
Especially when mana seems relatively easy to get. Like we were sitting in the 15 to 20 mana at the end of every single round.
I think the first round we struggled a little bit to get some of it, but by the others, I agree.
Yeah, and Scythe has a good similar battle system because you play a card too, and nobody really 100% knows what you're going to play.
Right.
Yeah.
But this one, it's like you know what your power is there.
Yep. So I don't really love that. I guess another con I have, I think that despite the really fun combinations and synergies you can build, I think getting to the end of all the things you're working on is too easy. Like,
yeah, because I did.
Yeah, I mean, in the first game, we thought one of the people we played with, Jared, had a card and he kept using the card that let everybody move up their coven tracks, and we all got to the end of it, and we thought, well, maybe that's kind of an anomaly, or like Tim just mentioned, getting to 20 mana at the end of every round is not very difficult. Getting to the top of that coven track's not very difficult. So I just feel like you should have to do more to separate yourself from other people on those, which really plays into what the different player powers are. My group was really coven track focused, and maybe the rewards I was getting were better as I went, but I just felt like I should have maybe been in a different spot than everybody else because that was my thing. So that element to it, I don't think necessarily lends itself to being as replayable as I think other parts of the game do lead it to being.
I agree with that. Like, I wouldn't even try to move my coven track that much, and I
think we all maxed
one.
it.
Yeah, I was one short. And
I thought I was never going to get to the top of mine because, like, going into round 3, I had like 3 bumps on it, and I bumped it like 50 times. It almost would maybe be better if once you got to the top, you just started going back down,
getting more stuff,
getting better stuff.
I guess.
No, that'd be even worse, and you just get way too rich.
All right. So my one big thing here is the way the game makes me feel during the game with like the amount of cards and the like it's very hard to, maybe it's just our group, it's very hard to keep track of whose turn it is and who's playing and what's going on and like who's doing what, because there's a lot of stuff that's could be simultaneous turns that isn't really simultaneous because you can kind of do it in any order and you might have to put a guy out, which actually matters, but then you kind of don't. And there's just a lot going on between reading your cards and everybody else doing their things. It really reminds me of like what I don't like about Earth. I have 15 cards in my hand. Like at some point in time, it's just like I'm just gonna stop reading these cards. Like I don't even. They could like there is a chance there were cards in my pile that would have scored me more points that I just can't.
100%.
I think Earth is more mind-boggling.
Earth is like, and then on Earth you stack on top of all the scoring.
Yeah,
because
you have like
and the bigger
seeds
tableau,
and trees and points
and people are doing
tags
even more work. Like like it goes a whole nother level, but it gives me the same like anxiety feeling that I get playing Earth.
I have the feeling that this one would be less after. Like I feel like Earth never slows down because I feel the same way as you about Earth, where I have like 20 cards and I'll be like, well, this one's worth 4 points and it cost me 9 crud, and it has 2 tags and it is worth like it has 3 tree spaces and 4 sprout spaces, and then when I take a yellow action I can draw a card, and when I take a red action I can ditch a card to gain 2 crud. And this card costs 8 crud and it's worth 1 point, and it has 1 tree and it has 5 sprout spaces. That's just so crazy in that case.
It's wild. I don't know why anybody can stand doing that in person. On BGA,
yeah, in BGA it is fine.
Yeah.
I agree. And if you're not somebody who likes to get in the weeds of trying to find those things, I can see why that would be a struggle. I think Rob mentioned while we were playing it that people who like trading card games, this is probably a really great a great board game, stretch for you to move into, in the fact that you can kind of build your deck equivalent of the things that you're scoring in there. I do want to say, though, that because of the volume of cards you often have in your hand, it does give you something to actively do while other people are taking their turns, which can make that time feel less. But I can also understand the anxiety that comes from having there be too many.
Yeah, I mean, I was 4 turns ahead of like where the actual turn order was. Like you saw me, I like stack my stuff.
Yeah.
I was just, like,
But you also admitted that you stopped reading cards.
like
but
I literally can't look at them. Like it's too much.
Yeah,
It's
like-
just like
I'm with Tim. Like I
Yeah.
have no interest in
Right.
doing that. It's the part of like the Magic the Gathering or trading card. Like I don't care about building like I didn't mind playing the games, but like I didn't want to build the decks. And this almost kind of feels like I'm building my tableau like that, and you have a lot of choices. There's a lot of things I like about the game, but I think BGG's probably right where it'd probably be more fun at 2 or 3 players, maybe. Like, I don't want to play this game for 2 hours, and that's probably what it is most of the time. And depending on who you're playing with, I mean, the game could go fast. Like, most of my turns just went pretty quickly. I mean, I didn't come close to winning, but okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna, and then the turn where you just kind of get stuff by flipping that thing over and you get stuff on the row, like that's kind of your boring turn, right? But turns are, and that's my prawn too, right? So turns can be fast and snappy, or they can be really slow and plodding because of Tim's point of somebody's in the weeds in their cards and they can't get out of it. So it could go either way depending on your group, and that's just kind of how it is.
This game does suffer from the still my turn after everybody else passed problem. That
like
Terraforming Mars is, I think, the ultimate stinger in
you
that
mean
one,
everybody passed, or like it's still my turn because
like I get more
got-
turns. I get to just keep
oh,
going.
Okay. I thought you meant because we got sick of waiting for you to, not you specifically, but we got sick of waiting for the person to quabble what card they were going to put down.
No, I think I
and
only
then we
had
all
one
went.
like
It's-
long
okay.
waffler, and you
Yeah.
guys like went past me, and then I was like, I actually am just done.
Yeah.
But
But this is the kind of game where I can be like, okay, I just took my next 3 turns. I need to go put my kid to bed,
Yeah.
and I'll be back.
well, I think you can just do that in this one until the end because it gets really interconnected with other players' stuff at the end.
Well-
where it's like, hey, I'm playing this card now that you can do this and this and this.
And really, just about everything that happens outside of going to that central board and placing because there's those, there's only 9 total spots out there. After those are gone, then it probably really doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, you're taking place of power. Like anything that's on the central board matters, but other than that, it doesn't matter. And what does matter is the order that you do your own tableau and the central board in sometimes. And so it's not like you just be like, everybody, their first 5 to 8 turns, you're putting your stuff on the board, and then we just do all our own stuff and be done. Like,
Yeah.
it can matter a little bit
For
there.
sure.
So, yeah. You want to get into final thoughts?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Here on the Board Boys podcast, we have a 3 Boeing rating scale. One time only, you can give your 4 Boeing game. 0 is being the worst. 3 is being the best. Half Boeings are allowed. Campbell, what is your 0 and 3 Boeing game of Evenfall? See, I'm
Zero
gonna go
Boeing,
back and
Zero
forth.
Boeing, you're doing a ritual near the big hole in the ground, and the earth swallows you up. 3 Boeing is you're doing a ritual near the big hole in the ground, and an unlimited pile of gold comes flying out. Like you strike oil, but it's molten gold.
Tight.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right, I'll go first. This one, like I said, I thought looked cool. I remember seeing it on the BGG hotness shelf, and I'm like, that box looks neat. What is that game? And then I never got to play it. And then Jake showed up with it, and we played it, and I was like, I liked that more than I thought I would.
The box art is really nice.
Yeah, because like this is not my type of game at all. I'm not a huge card game combo type person.
Same, bro. Remember when I had that slam that you totally turned it around on me about 1,000 Scoundrels or whatever it was? I said something like that.
Yeah.
And you were like, however. And then you told me about a game that I do like. I can't remember what game it was. Like, maybe Terraforming Mars.
Yeah, I don't remember, but I mean, long story short, I'd say probably for me like a 1.5 Boinger. If I looked at it in a broader view, it's probably a better game than that, except for that stupid score track. But like as far as my tastes go, I think 1.5 is where I'm hanging out at.
All right, I'll go next.
Speaking of which, you know that game's on BGA.
No, bro, that game's fun too.
Yeah, you should play it.
I will go next. So for me, I did like this game better than I thought after the teach and looking through my hand the first time. I was like, the first time I got it, I was like, I'm going to hate this game. I don't hate this game. I think it's good. It's fun. I think multiple plays would get better. It's not my style of game, but I do think I will give it a 2. I would say it'd be probably like a 1.75, but like I'm going to err on the side of it's fun.
I think this would be really good on BGA when you
I would
don't
agree with
have
that.
anything with scoring problems. Your cards are going to let you know what's going to come in there.
You don't have to worry about like if your turn takes 4 minutes, like, who cares?
My problem with it on BGA is there would just be way too many choke points. Like you play a card and then everybody can maybe do something, or
There is enough interaction there that might.
or
slow
like
down a fair amount.
in round 3, I think I took like 20 turns,
Yeah.
but it is only 3 rounds long.
I can go next. So for me, I knew I had seen this on several lists of games that were getting a lot of buzz and people were pretty excited about it. I think I read one review where it was talking about all the, quote, fall games that were coming out. And I think that person had said they liked it more than the others. So it just had kind of seemed like something I would be interested in. And then I saw that it had been released and I dove in. So I think after my first play, I was pretty underwhelmed and just thought it was too much to really grasp the right ways to approach games in the way that I like to anyways. This time it felt a lot more manageable outside of, again, the absolutely dreadful scoring track. And I think I have found the lane that will lead me to enjoying it quite a bit, in that I do really enjoy games where I can find combinations of things and make them maximize them to the most of their abilities. So I think there's enough to it that isn't my wheelhouse that I think it's a 2 for me as well. But I am interested in continuing to find ways to make more combos happen, and maybe that will lead to it being even higher rated over time.
So it feels like it for you. For me, it'd be like a 1.75. And I think for you, it's like a 2.25. Is what it
Yeah,
feels
I mean, I think it's a pretty solid 2,
Okay.
actually. Like, it's a game that I would say, yeah, I liked that. But 2.5 for me is a game like, man, I really like that game. Like, I definitely really want to play that. And I don't know that I'm at this is a game that I'm always going to want to bring to the table. So I think 2 is a solid spot for it. But maybe eventually that puzzle gets enjoyable enough for me that I do reach that level.
Does it have any weirdness with 2 players, like with the fighting at the
You
end?
don't use the third region with 2 players, and then you flip them over, and there's less spots for places of power. So you're
Okay.
just doing 2. So I think it adjusts.
Just curious.
And the fact that BGG says it's best at 2 or 3, I'm guessing those adjustments work out pretty well.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if like it'd be cooler at that player
Yeah.
count. I don't know. Ultimately, I think both times I played this game, I felt like I was doing cool things
Yeah.
and didn't get close to like
Yeah.
touching other people's
See,
scores.
I think for both cases with me, and the first time I won and the second time I got second here, but both cases I was doing cool things, and then like by the end I found this thing that I was like, man, this is next level. Like what I'm doing here and manipulating the different actions and how I'm using them, and that's a lot of fun for me. And so I guess that's probably what kind of butcher there. I do want to mention though that this is this designer's first game, and I think that there definitely shows a lot of promise there when you put together something like this for your first one.
So here's my final thoughts on the game. I liked it just about as much as I like games like this. I like games that that play faster and get a little bit more abstract, I think, more. So I think I like Race for the Galaxy more. I like games that hit you with more cards and more ways to use them less. I think this is a 2 for me. I think that other people's mileage could vary. I think I'm being pretty fair and objective when I say it's a 2. I don't see this game like being in most people's top 10s. It just isn't super memorable in my opinion. But I think it's punching above its weight. It looks like this is this guy's first design, and it's really stylish and it's really fun. If I was putting this on my shelf intentionally, I think it would be hard for me to want to take it off my shelf to replace it with something else. So I think this game's memorable. I think it's better than I thought it was going to be, and maybe my rating would be higher if I played it a few more times.
All right, right on. I think that'll wrap us up for Evenfall. On the Board Boys podcast, we like to look back 1 year in the past for a section we call Bumper Dump. Cam.
Baby, turn around, I wanna see that sexy board game go, Board Boys bump.
or dump.
I thought you'd do it in the Eddie Vedder voice here, but
Baby, turn around. I wanna see that sexy bargain go boy bump.
I think you enunciated too clearly.
Yeah, I know. I don't know Pearl Jam well enough to like. So part of like when you imitate somebody, it's usually because you like kind of like them. That's why like all of like like when Alec Baldwin was playing Donald Trump on SNL, is a really bad impersonation because like he doesn't have like he hates him, so it's not a good impression. It's just mean. No matter what you think about Donald Trump, it's just not a good impression. I can't do Eddie Vedder because I don't know Eddie Vedder. I don't have like that love for Eddie Vedder. Whereas I can do Michael McDonald and Kermit the Frog really well.
I was gonna say that was
because I respect and love Michael McDonald and Kermit the Frog.
That was like 75% Michael McDonald and 25% Eddie Vedder, but it was good. It was good.
But I've listened to so many hours of Michael McDonald singing.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So 1 year ago, we played The Wolves. The Wolves was 7.5 for 15-18. It is now a 7.3. Bumper dump.
Bump. It's an 8.3.
Bump.
7.3.
7.3.
Wolves is good. Good game.
I'm gonna say it is dumped.
Yeah, it's 10.99. So a little bump. Definitely a dump in the rating. So we did play it when it was pretty new. I guess I have played it a couple times on BGA now.
I have too, and I partially had forgotten how to play a little bit, so it dumped on me a little bit for me personally.
Yeah.
I would like to play it in person again
I have. I'll bring it.
soonish.
Wolves is good.
Yeah.
Wolves is another game that punches above its weight. I think the box is a little too small. Like all the components are like a little bit smaller than I want them to be. Is I think my biggest gripe about that game.
Yeah, there's like the tiny wolves and little dens and.
Yeah, like I feel like it was just like 10% bigger. Everything it would like. It would feel much better.
That's something an alpha would say.
I'm in a super alpha.
Like
I'm a dom daddy.
Sorry, I take full
I
responsibility.
totally forgot that was what the entire episode was.
Totally dommed out. Alpha wolf.
All right. Well, I apologize for even bringing this one
I
up.
stepped down because I had to. Now I'm back. That's my favorite video on the internet. I'm the true alpha.
I was not on the episode, but I played it with Tim. Actually, I played it twice. I really like the way that you manipulate the cards and try to set yourself up for things. I hate the way that game ends. Just somebody moving the thing and not being able to see that coming, and not a fan for me, that part of it. But I do like some of the other components to it.
Yeah, it's cool. I still like it.
I think it's really fun.
Yeah.
It's my like. I like area control that it has more open information, and so like I like or like where some of the area control is based on like outsmarting versus like outcarding.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like Rising Sun. I really like. I've grown to really like Small World again, which is one of like Small World's kind of a Catan game to me, where it's like. You like it when you're new at board games, then you hate it, and then you like it again once you've played a bunch of board games because you realize it's actually really good design. Maybe people don't agree with me about Small World or Catan when I say that, but
I don't agree with you about Catan. I definitely agree with you about Small World.
but get back into Catan.
No,
I'm
thank
telling you.
I tried to play a game on BGA the other day. It was terrible.
Campbell, I still own Catan. I got to play it.
Let's play. Play.
I will not be.
But you want 3 people or 4 people?
If I were you, I'd throw it out. Like, I don't want to play this.
It's good. I'm telling you.
It'll probably never leave.
Take that heart medicine. Just like me. And
I
then
do
you'll-
like Small World. I mean, the only Small World I still own is the World of Warcraft version.
Which is cool.
Yeah,
Which is cool.
I had everything for Small World. It's like that's too much Small World, and now I just have the Warcraft one, which is tight.
I was completely in the same category of thinking it was just the coolest game ever, and then eventually I was just like, I don't know why I ever want to play this game again. So
Small World.
Yeah. I should play it again, but it's not really a Jake game.
So if you want to give us feedback on the Bumper Dump, you can do that through our Board Game Geek Guild, which you can find on our website, boardboys.com. Christopher Boat owned it, passed it along without even trying it. Heard too many mixed reviews. It was super pretty, though. Jeremy Dobler.
I think you bought his copy
Me?
off the Dungeon Gate shelf.
That could be true. That could be true. Jeremy Dobler, I'm going to buy his arcs, too. It'd be great. Jeremy Dobler, I've only had a chance to play it once in person, a couple times on BGA. I still don't quite know what I'm doing. Need to get it to table again soon. I think for now it's 1.5 boings. It's likely a dump from where it first entered. We regularly have 5, so I really need to break this one out and teach it to the group. I do think at 5 it could be. It's an interesting game at 5. Like it would be be interesting. So, and then BJ from Board Game Gumbo. I like my area control games to be fast playing, relatively short, with some kind of twist. The wolf fits all three. The action selection puzzle alone is worth the playing time. 3 bowlings. Nice. Thank you, BJ.
While Rob brings up our Discord information, I just want to give a shout out to all the people in our Discord. I just want to throw this out there for you guys who are not in the who are not in the Board Boys podcast Discord that listen to us quite a bit. I'm pretty sure we have one of the only communities on Discord that is not toxic, but is also not a safe space.
I don't know that anybody's. The only thing I've ever moderated was someone got hacked and posted in every channel and messaged everybody.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember what that was. It was like 1 a.m, and I.
But that wasn't toxic. That's just a thing that happens.
Yeah. That was the only thing that's ever been moderated in our entire channel.
So, yeah. Can you think of any other Discord communities that
Most
are both not toxic or not a safe space?
Yeah. Discord communities are wild. So
Yeah.
this one's good.
That's
Yeah.
true. Well, thanks for listening to another episode of the Board Boys Podcast, Season 15, Episode 4, Evenfall.
Nice.
It's pretty good, Rob.
Yeah, thanks. I can also do a pretty good Scott Staff.
Is his name Scott Staff or Scott Stapp?
Oh, I don't know.
It's Scott Stapp, right? He was in Creed, but he also did a song for the Marlins called Marlins Will Soar.
Yeah. All right. We can go to theboardboys.com for all the shenanigans, all the links. Join the Patreon, support us, give us 5-star iTunes reviews, like us on Spotify, spread the Board Boys gospel, hang out on the Discord, play some BGA. I'd like to thank our patrons now. Hammond Buckland, BJ from Board Game Gumbo, Timothy Crisco, Shifty Teeth, Jeff Gray, Andre Bosch, Braden Dowdy, Rob Cooper, Richard Lane, Matt Kelly, Jeremy Thoman, and Dom Lankin. Once again, we hope you like board games.
And listen, hey Vern, is Ernest the new? No, Ernest is not the new Steve Walsh. But R.I.P. to both of them. Listen, very soon there will be a party for the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Steve Walsh.
It feels so good to be back together. Here we are, everybody tonight. I want you to rock. Put your hands in the air and clap. We are together. Everybody around the world's gonna rock. Everybody around the world's gonna rock with me. Here we go. 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 Somebody, anybody, everybody in the house, just rock the world. Come on, keep rocking. Just rock side to side with me. Ain't nobody allowed to stand still. We are rocking the world.
There's been so many things that's held us down, but now it looks like things are finally coming around. I know we've got a long, long way to go, and where we'll end up, I don't know. But we won't let nothing hold us back. We put our show together, we're polishing up our act now. If you've ever been held down before, I know you refuse to be held down anymore. Well, don't you let nothing stand in your way. Yeah, yeah. I want you to listen to every word I say, every word I say. Ain't no stopping us now. We're on the move.
Come on, we're on the move together tonight.
Ain't no stopping us now. We got the grip.
We are together. Everybody just keep rocking the world.
I know you know someone that has a negative vibe, and if you try and make it, they only push you aside. They really don't have nowhere to go. Ask them where they're going. They don't know. But we won't let nothing hold us back. We're gonna put our show together. We're gonna polish up our act now. If you've ever been held down before,
back in the summer of 79 when you first heard this and you were feeling fine. But here's the new style now in 88 and you're still feeling good, just feeling great. So just move to the groove and don't stop the rockin'. There's no holding back, there just ain't no stopping. So I'm busting beats cause I'm feeling hot and everybody around the world's gonna say, you what? You what? You what?